Ahead on Daytime Buffalo, UB Theatre Department is here with details on their original rock musical, and that's no yoke. And Girls on the Run Buffalo are leading the charge in after-school programs. It's all coming up right now on Daytime Buffalo.
And I am God.
My name is Ryan, and I'm playing Ian in A Crack in the Egg.
They say chug on. Don't consider God to be a flawed being, but she is, so it's interesting to kind of figure out what the backstory for the entire universe would be.
It's like looking through a magnifying glass at Earth and just seeing this family and being like, that represents us as a whole.
I think the most interesting thing to me is having Ian watch his life back and also watch his past lives and how his past lives interact with his current life.
You can relate with each one of them and see the reflection of humanity as a whole within the Meyer family.
This is a story that can relate to anyone, and that if they want to see themselves, that they should come, because it's the story of human life.
Come see what we've done. We've all worked incredibly hard, and I think it will change your perspective on a lot of things.
Come see A Crack in the Egg, please! God commands you. I'll smite you if you don't.
Alrighty, good afternoon. Hello and welcome to Daytime Buffalo. I'm your host, Chelsea Lavelle. Well, you just saw the trailer for the new show coming to UB's Theater and Dance Department. And I'm joined now by the co-writers and cast members to tell us more. Welcome Ryan, John, Jeremy, and Julia. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, well, Jeremy and John, let's talk about the show and what makes it unique.
Yeah, so A Crack in the Egg, it's a rock musical, and it follows a character named Ian, who's the protagonist of our story, and it's immediately after his death. And he finds himself in a diner where he meets God, and God basically tells him the truth of the universe and that the universe is failing. And in order to decide if the universe should end or if there's a way he can save it, he has to see his past lives from a long cycle of reincarnation, or as well as see his life unfold before him, all the way up until his death.
Oh, wow.
Which then brings him back, and then we get to see, is the universe going to be saved or not?
Yeah. It's pretty intense. Jeremy came up with this concept, and I thought it was such a cool idea because there's so many places that you can take this type of story. There's so many different genres of music you can explore, and that's what really excited me about it, because there's so much fun and humor in this show, but also it goes to some really intense, real places, and we're lucky we have such talented actors and singers here that are able to pull off a show of this magnitude.
Yeah, Ryan and Julia, tell us about your characters, and Julia, I'll start with you. You're playing God. Which
True.
Love that God is a woman. So just tell us about what it's been like stepping into the role. This is quite a role to step into.
It's really interesting to play a character that is supposed to be so perfect, and yet in the show is so imperfect and is going through her own struggle, especially because there's so many different ideas of what God should be or what people believe God to be. So it's interesting to take Ian through his past lives and kind of be the one making all the mistakes at the same time. We're watching Ian make all these mistakes, and yet I'm making my own mistakes at the same time. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I play Ian, as previously mentioned, and he's the protagonist, but he's got a bit of antagonist in him too. He's very imperfect. He's the father of a dysfunctional family that the story revolves around, and just overall, I think his story is sort of a close look at the whole story. Like his story. Yeah,
It's a story within a story within a story.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poorly explained.
No. So it sounds like you mentioned in your trailer that everyone should come out and there's going to be parts of it that resonate. So what are some of those kind of reoccurring themes that we will see in the show?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that every character is flawed in a humanizing way, which I think it shows their disconnect and how they're struggling with very similar things, even though they're not able to communicate it, which I think is a very common thing that exists in our world today, as we know. We hide away our pain, and we force it down instead of trying to face it. And I think that's really what this musical is trying to do, is to be like, if we actually communicated, if we actually understood each other and understood each other's pain instead of hiding it away and forcing it to villainize other people, then it can allow us to understand each other better.
I think everyone has had a moment or a day in their lives when they're like, oh gosh, like, is this world ever going to get better? Is like, things are so screwed up in so many ways, and they have been for so long. It's like, well, what's the end point? Is there something like beautiful at the end of this journey, or is this what it is this struggle? And I think our show tries to answer that question in a way, and it's been really exciting, the process so far.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the music in this show and what it's been like to work with Prairie Pavement. And obviously you guys created this show, and you said you could have chosen any genre of music to go with it, but you chose rock. So let's talk about kind of what led you there.
Well, we are all like huge rock and roll fans. It's I grew up listening to the classic rock in the car with my dad. Like the Beatles, all that good stuff. And it's just a genre that really resonates with us. But we explore all sorts of different genres because we're lucky enough to work with a band, Prairie Pavement, and they're so talented. They're very young, but they already have such a strong identity as a band, and they can pull off pretty much any type of genre, and their shows are so lively and fun. And we saw them, and we knew we had to have them be a part of this because they just have the exact right energy that we want for this type of music and this type of show.
Very nice. When and where is this show running?
The show will take place on February 7th and 8th in the Catherine Cornell Theater, UB North Campus, at 7 p.m. Okay. And you can get tickets either online at the UB Theatre and Dance CFA website or at the door.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing more about this production. Viewers, if you would like tickets or more information on A Crack in the Egg, you can visit UB Theater's website at arts-sciences.buffalo.edu/theater and dance and find the show under the News and Events tab. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.